How's it going, everybody? I thought I'd juggle the schedule around a little bit and we would take a look at hot rod bikes. For those of you that don't know, Hot Rod Bikes started out as a magazine called Hot Rod Harleys, and it was an extension of the magazine Hot Rod, the car magazine. At Petersen Publishing, which was where it was based, there was a motorcycle group, and that group focused on sport bikes and dirt bikes, and it was motorcyclist and sport rider and dirt rider, and they really wanted nothing to do with the Harleys. So, of course, Harleys were exploding, so the hot rod people decided that a magazine focused on Harleys would be the ticket. So we started out as Hot Rod Harleys there, but apparently Harley Davidson had a problem with that name, so we ended up with Hot Rod Bikes. On the cover here, well, there's girls. There's motorcycles too, but there's girls. And what's important to know about the girls in these photos is I found them in a little club called Lollipops in Daytona Beach. Now, no one that's listening to this will have ever set foot in Lollipops because it was a strip club and nobody would go there. But the funny thing was I needed to hire models for the photo shoots that we were doing. And we had a great photographer with us down in Daytona. His name was Wes Allison. So I show up at Lollipops wearing a Hot Rod Bikes polo shirt, a Hot Rod Bikes hat with a stack of business cards that says Hot Rod Bikes. And I'm talking to the girls, trying to, explain to them I'm going to pay them cash to take their photo. And they thought I was trying to scam them. And I'm thinking, you're getting basically naked for tips. And here I'm offering you real money to model and just wear a bikini. And I was getting a hard time about it. So it was kind of a funny thing to see this. And it reminded me of that story. So as we get into this magazine, we've got Frank Keisler's column Hogtied. Frank was the editor. Frank was the guy that gave me the chance to work on hot rod bikes coming from motorcyclist. And Frank is an amazingly knowledgeable guy. And he taught me basically everything I know about Harleys other than they have a V-twin engine. He taught it to me. And here was a picture of Frank sitting on the Buell S1 that we were testing. And we were the first people to spend a bunch of time on an S1, and in this issue, we were announcing the S2 that I just bought. So this was a very heavy Howard and Buell issue. When you look at the letters section here, there was actually a letter from a guy that I had met the Daytona prior at a Buell ride, and he was there on a Kawasaki ZX-11, and we did a ride, and he tried to keep up with me, and every time we hit the corners, I got away from him, and every time we hit the straights, he got away from me, and was looking to meet me again to see if I could teach him more about cornering. So it was kind of fun to see that in the magazine. I forgot all about that as well. Now, again, this is back when Harleys were just really going crazy, right? This is March of '96. So we produced this magazine in the latter part of '95. It was on sale in like January of '96. And here was the big thing. Boyd Coddington and John Butera were teaming up to make motorcycle parts because Harleys were going crazy. Also on here was an artist rendering of the Corbin showroom for Daytona, which, by the way, I'd been to that after it opened, and it was amazing. Just absolutely amazing. So here's the thing we launched called the Buell Department. And there I am with my Buell S2 that I got, and quick shots of me doing an oil change and adding a Vance & Hines power pack and just trying to get the bike a little better. I threw some Avon tires on it because I was taking it on the 7th day of owning it. I was taking it out to Willow Springs Raceway to go to the California Superbike School. That's the Keith Code School. And there I was going to prove to the world that Buells were just as fast as regular sport bikes. And well, I didn't prove that, but I was pretty competitive that day, and I passed a couple people, and I had some fun, and there was another Buell out there, a guy by the name of Jeff Rush from Bartell's Harley. He also had an S2, and it was a great day because a lot of people that rode sport bikes had no idea what a Buell was, so the idea of seeing something with a Harley engine buzzing around a racetrack, well, that surprised a lot of them. And at Hot Rod Harleys and Hot Rod Bikes, Frank, again, so smart with these things, really focused on tech. And here we had a really in-depth article on frame terms and the basics of frames. And we did a frame straightening article with Dr. John and a frame raking article with Dr. John. And by the way, I don't know if Dr. John's still in business, but he used to be based in Anaheim, and it was Dr. John's Frame Straightening. And God, that guy was smart and talented. And again, this was showing just the depth of what we went into with this. Now, believe it or not, this is a Dave Perewitz bike, Cycle Fab. You can usually tell a Dave Perewitz bike by the flames, but it's really hard to see the flames because the Bikini Girl was pretty rocking. So this was one of the girls that I pulled out of the strip club to be a model for Hot Rod Bikes, and I had to convince her that it was legit, and the smile stayed the whole time when she realized it was legit, and she was getting paid, I think, like $150 or $175 to stand next to a motorcycle for half an hour. So Bikini Girl won. And then we got into another suspension article, and this was an article I was pretty proud of because we were the first people to bring race tech to the Harley world. And in this case, we had Paul Feed, who invented race tech, taking a look at a 1200S fork and what you could do to make the 1200S shock and fork work better, because rebuildable forks and shocks make for a better motorcycle because you can make your bike handle better. And we also took a look at a regular damping fork and just putting in the Race Tech emulators. So a very, very, very in-depth article. A lot of fun to do because, again, when you're around really smart people, you learn a lot as they teach you things. Now, if you are into cars and motorcycles, you have likely heard of the Petersen Museum in Los Angeles. One of the cool things about working at Petersen Publishing is we were kind of connected to the museum, and after the museum had opened up, they wanted to do a Harley display, and they actually tapped Frank to be the curator for the Harley Legends exhibit, and it was so much fun. I got to be part of it and kind of see what was going on and see the bikes as they were being put in and all the different displays and run up to the museum and be part of it. And especially on the opening night, got to be there. It was just really cool. And it was a great honor. And it was great that Frank was picked for that because there really wasn't a better guy for it back then. Now, a buyer's guide, normally buyer's guide, we have people send us pictures and we put together a buyer's guide. But in this case, we wanted to really teach the world, about the frame market and what you could buy for an aftermarket frame to build a bike. And we went so far as to get wheels and tires mounted up with a 130, a 150, a 180, and a new Avon 200 to show how these tires would fit into the frame. And we spent, I think, like 2 or 2.5 days in the photo studio with Wes Allison, Frank, and me, throwing frames up on a lift and then putting an axle in and sliding wheels in to get pictures of what it would look like and measurements. And it was a ton of work. It was great information. And you'll notice too, we wouldn't put these things in unless they would give us their retail price. So we could actually show people what these frames were going to cost and how they would function with different size tires and things like that. And it was cool. It was a ton of work, but that was the kind of stuff we used to do. All right, so now we're moving on to Bikini Girl number 2. Again, Wes Allison photography, just put a girl with a motorcycle and take a bunch of pictures, and when we get back, one of them is going to be great. This particular bike, by the way, 88 cubic inches, and the guy said it made 160 horsepower. Sure, that was on nitrous and all of that, but yeah, 160 horsepower from an 88-inch shovel head. If I remember correctly, this bike was like raucously loud, just ear-splitting loud, but mostly Bikini Girl. And then the Love Ride. And again, I told you, right, Love Ride. No Instagram, no Facebook, no way to see cool things except for all the little pictures in a magazine. So we put lots of pictures in the magazine. And you'll notice, obligatory photo of Willie, because Willie G, he's there. You got to take a picture of him. And let's see, I'm going to flip a couple pages here to catch up with what I filmed. Sorry about that. Again, these are far from professional videos, right? We know that. Because, well, let's face it, I'm doing this for fun. Oh, here we go. So Dave's Scratch Built. This was, again, the peak of you can't buy a Harley. There's a 2-year wait to get a bike from a dealer, $5,000, $10,000 markup on getting a bike. So companies like Chrome Specialties, who, by the way, not around anymore, Custom Chrome, Drag Specialties, so many people had kit bikes where literally a giant pile of boxes would show up and you would unpack it and you would have every piece you needed to build a motorcycle. So this was Dave Withrow building a scratch built, we called it, in his garage. And it was an interesting bike. Maybe I'll find another issue of this and dig it out. Oh, there we go. Bikini Girl number 3. Another cool little bike, rigid, 80-inch engine. Bikini Girl. Really, that's what matters, right? Bikini Girl. Open belt drive, but Bikini Girl. And finally, we get to me. Yep, me. Riding a Harley Fat Boy in my wannabe Mickey Rourke jacket and my Gerard Designs custom painted Hot Rod Bikes helmet with the cool flames and the logo all hand painted on it. And we photographed this down in Santa Monica at the Santa Monica Pier, and another Wes Allison set of photos. And the idea was this thing was going to appear in March 96, which meant it was going to be in January. So we shot this in December, and we thought, wow, we will go take these photos at sunrise, and we'll get the sun, and the bike will be coming out of the pier, and it'll feel all warm and sunny and remind people of Daytona's coming. And it was so overcast that day, the bike was actually getting wet. I do remember that. But it was a fun bike. I actually remember this article, too, because this was the first test bike that we got after Harley kind of refurbished all the factories and they took like a 2-week hiatus, put everybody on vacation, and they rearranged York and Milwaukee and put in some upgraded equipment and just some new machinery. And this bike was distinctly better than other test bikes we'd had over the years. And it really, it was just noticeably better quality, fit, finish, everything. So there I am riding past a wall, trying to look cool and riding off the pier. And yeah, so there's an issue of hot rod bikes, just breaking up the monotony of hot bike, I guess. So that's it. Comments, let me know. Questions, let me know. And have a great day.